Greetings, art history students. This little video that you're going to have today just kind of gives you a breakdown of what this course is about and some of the things you'll experience throughout the year. Okay, so here we go. Okay, first of all, be familiar with this. There are 10 content areas in AP Art History, and starting next week, or actually probably starting this week, we'll begin with Content Area 1, which is Global Prehistory. We'll make quick work of that and move right on to Content Area 2. You can see as we go through, we'll finish up with Global Contemporary, and we do bounce around a little bit when it gets to some of the images that are outside the European tradition, such as images from Africa or West and Central Asia. So be prepared for that as well. At the beginning of each chapter, there are what we call enduring understandings. And in the enduring understandings in the first unit, I'm just giving you an example of one. This is more of a teacher thing, but I think I put them there just so you guys would see what your enduring understandings and essential knowledge would look like. And this is one from Global Prehistory, and it's basically saying that students need to have an understanding that things happened and values occurred on different continents, with Africa and Asia beginning, and it kind of moved out from there. And then the essential knowledge would be something that is right in under that. And the first art was created in rock paintings and carved out of natural materials. So that is just an example too. And I want to show you, I don't want you to get overburdened with this because this is what one page looks like. Okay? So it is something that you might want to be familiar with, but it is nothing that is going to be word for word on a test or anything like that. The understanding needs to be, it will be included in one form or another in the test. Now, the next thing is essays. You will have some essays because the fact of the matter is the AP exam has 2 hours devoted into writing essays, and 1 hour is devoted into a multiple choice exam. My suggestion for you is you really need to know your content as far as the essay goes, and then how to answer the question, which is what we'll be working on throughout the year. They range from 5, 10, and 30-minute essays. Some of the themes that they include are women in art, propaganda, patronage, power and authority, and sacred spaces, and that's just a few of them. This is an example of an essay right here, an essay question from a previous exam. This shows Las Meninas, and the question basically says the Baroque painting shown includes portrayals of both its patron and artist. Now, you might not understand that right now, but as we progress through the course, you will. And basically, the question is asking for you to name the artist, which is Velázquez, and explain the painting served the aims of both the artist and the patron. And again, that is something that you will learn throughout the course, and you would write 10 minutes on it. And a 2-sentence answer probably would not do very well for you. Discussion questions I'll usually put in here during a unit, and oftentimes they're extra credit, and that's just to get you prepared for writing about art. And this is an example of a discussion question from the Egyptian unit, and basically it is on portraiture, and it's asking you about the differences reflected in social conditions of this empire that just was massive. So you're talking thousands of years. What happened with portraiture throughout those years? And basically that's what the question is asking. One of the things that you'll also have is one of the images from ancient Greece. This is just an example. It happens a few times, probably about 5 or 6. They'll say the Acropolis. Well, the Acropolis is one image, but there's multiple images that comes from it. Such as down here, we have the Parthenon. Well, within the Parthenon, there were frieze sculptures, and this is the plaque of the Ergastines, which is included in the Parthenon. So there's probably going to be a number of different things in some of the works of art. So the Temple of Nike is also included in the Acropolis. And you see right down here, these are some of the different buildings that are included in the Acropolis. But that's just an example. Here are some dating conventions. What happened is they used to use BC and AD, and this had religious connotations, so they changed it to BCE, so you'll see that in dating. 2000 BCE is before the Common Era, and the Common Era began at 0, and we're at 2020 now, a very memorable year. We are in 2020 CE, which is called the Common Era. Okay. These are a couple of responses I got from the discussion questions that are the discussion piece I had out there. What would you like to learn? It was actually in a Googleable form. I'd like to know more about art techniques and styles of art and how to recognize what period a piece is from. And so I just want to hit that real quick, and hopefully you'll have a better understanding. The artistic impulse is basically why we want to create art. And in many cases, it's just to leave something behind after death, something that will be valued. It's like a memorial, but that's not the only reason, okay? And sometimes artists are commissioned to do portraits or likenesses of specific people. The ancient Romans did this with their bust, and it was about preserving the image of their ancestors. Another reason, in ancient Egypt, they often would paint the image of the person inside so his ka, or his soul, would recognize them. They were very, I guess you could say, into the afterlife. Now, a patron is someone that commissions the art. And in this case, this is Emperor Qin. And what he did, he commissioned not only his tomb, but the bodyguard, life-size warriors and chariots and horses, and there were thousands of them that were guarding his tomb. But he was a patron, he commissioned them. Another reason to create art, in ancient Egypt, they believed that the tombs would guarantee their existence in the afterlife. And you'll see that especially older art, from ancient civilizations, not just ancient civilizations, but more common in ancient civilizations, deal with the afterlife. To commemorate a god or to have a place to worship, the Parthenon was built to house a colossal statue of the goddess Athena, and it also would embody the intellectual achievements of the Athenian civilization. Rome was very big into that, and other cultures as well. They want to show you just how great they are. Now, list of patrons for famous artworks: the pyramids, terracotta warriors, Versailles, and the Taj Mahal. These are the people that had them constructed. Okay. Now, why is art valued? One reason is material value. This is a copy of the statue of Athena that would have been in the Parthenon, and it was made of gold. So the material value of gold, it was made of a precious material. And one of the reasons we don't have this around anymore, I want you to think about that a little bit. It's thousands of years old, and people that might not have worshipped what the Greeks worshipped, they see this gold, which is a highly valued material, could have been melted down. Intrinsic value. Think about this. This is a Mona Lisa, made from material that probably would have cost in today's market, just the materials, $20 to $30, but it's priceless now. So just because of its importance in the art history. Religious value, paintings and sculptures depicting gods and goddesses. This is was very important during the Romanesque and Gothic period. And a lot of times that was because they were dealing with a largely illiterate population. So one way to teach was through imagery. Another reason it's valued is nationalistic value, the pride and accomplishments of a particular culture. In Rome, they used triumphal arches, and this is the Arch of Titus, the Arch of Titus, and it was dedicated to Titus by his son, but it shows the spoils of Jerusalem. And if you were to get up close to it, you would see that there would be processions where they showed them bringing back different pieces, the spoils of Jerusalem. Psychological value. This, I don't know if the Bamiyan Buddha was destroyed by the fundamentalist Islamic Taliban. This was, I believe, in the mid-90s, And that was because they were in control of this area at the time, and they do not believe that any type of religious figures, they were not conforming to the rules of the Quran. And also, it wanted to strike terror into the population of Afghanistan. Now, some of the questions art historians might ask is how old it is. Now, how do we do this? Before, we need to be able to study it a little bit. Physical evidence. This is a very old terracotta piece from ancient Greece. One thing about it is, as far as physical evidence, if you have something that's made from bronze, the bronze age was right around 3000 to 1200 BC. So anything made of bronze, if you find it, you know that it wasn't made prior to that date. So that's just an example of physical evidence. Another way is documentary evidence. In some cases, paintings or pieces will actually have the dates on them. The David vases here are actually dedicated in 1351. It is written on the vase. Another thing is visual evidence. When we take a look at the Flavian, the portrait of the Flavian woman, the hairstyle is actually worn by the upper Roman class of women at that time with the large curls. Another is stylistic evidence. We know that when we see an impressionist painting, for the most part, unless it's somebody that's trying to copy that style, it was produced between the 1870s and the 1880s because it had small, very thin, visible brushstrokes, ordinary subject matter. It tried to include movement, unusual visual angles. Those are just some examples of stylistic evidence. Another thing is period style. This is more about, the one on the left is one that's pretty good as far as figuring out a period style. This is an archaic sculpture, and one of the things that, one of the visual stylistic characteristics that you can see from it is the smile. We know this was made somewhere around 500 BCE because that was during the archaic period in ancient Greece. Regional style. When you take a look at certain buildings, cathedrals, both of these are Gothic churches, but the one on the left is English Gothic. The bell tower was put on the crossing, which is right in the center, or near the center, I should say, of the building. Italian Gothic churches would usually have the bell tower separate, and you guys may know this one because of its famous bell tower. The Pisa Cathedral, usually don't see the cathedral, but the bell tower. Personal style. Personal style, you have Basquiat and Andy Warhol. Once you become familiar with them, when you see an image done by one of these artists, you'll understand and know from where it came. Okay, guys, I am about out of time here, so I'm going to get moving here. Iconography is literally the writing of images. By extension, it can be used as the study of symbols, but it's also about the content and the subject of an artwork. This is an example of the weighing of souls. This would have been above a Romanesque cathedral. I mentioned this before about the images that they would use for an illiterate population. Attributes. This is an example here of iconography. You have an archer, and the fact that you have an archer, there's a good chance it's a Greek sculpture. It would be Apollo. So the other thing too is with religious imagery, the different, I guess you would call it like the Annunciation. You see that a lot, and once you're familiar with the what happened during the Annunciation, you can better understand the title. Personifications, giving something like death an actual image. This is something that Durer did. So these are just some examples of iconography. We will use that term quite a bit during the year, or else you should be very familiar with it because it would be asked in some essay questions. Okay? Boy, I just made 20 seconds to spare. Okay, you guys, I hope you found this informative. Some of the stuff in here will be included on that little quiz at the end of the unit. Guys, have a good day.